Hello. All right, let me pin the question of the day very quickly. I hope you are well. Let's see, it's about 4:30. Let me plug in this computer before I lose power. There we go. So very quickly, today we are talking about God, I feel like I'm losing my voice. How do we stay this or the secret to staying motivated as a freelance writer? So I've been a freelance writer for 8 years. And I remember when I was first starting my business and I was telling people about it, I was kind of spending my days at local libraries, just trying to get my footing and trying to figure out how to be able to find clients, where to find clients. Um, and the library was sort of like the most comfortable place for me to be able to work at the time. And sometimes I would run into people um, that I knew presently or, from a few years prior to, and they want to know what it is that I'm doing. And I would say, I'm trying to build a business as a freelance writer, and I'm, just trying to figure out, find my way. And they were always really impressed because one of the things that they would always say is that, oh, they couldn't do something like that because um, just doing that work and trying to find your own clients and making your own money and trying to figure all of that out, it just felt like a lot to them. And it was a lot. It was a lot. It's a lot in the beginning, especially if you don't have a pattern or friends who have done this, friends or family members who have done this before you. So, how do you stay motivated to be able to build your business as a freelance writer is what it is that we're talking about. Number one, I had a vision for what it is that I wanted to create for myself. I had a really strong why. What I wanted to do with my life was I wanted the complete opposite of what it is that I had before. Um, what I had before was um, I had a I had no freedom. I was, very well educated person. I have a master's degree in education, and everyone had told me that um, getting an education was going to somehow lead to all this great money and all sorts of other things. But for me, I was not finding that to be true. And one of the things that I had learned during my not the last, but the job that I had before my absolute last full time job. I was working at a college, and there was two gentlemen who used to run. They were from Egypt. These two gentlemen from Egypt who used to run a hot dog cart in front, and they would split working this particular spot. So for 6 months, they were brothers. One brother would work for 6 months while the other was in Egypt. Once that 6 months was up, they would switch spaces. And what I learned from speaking to them was that they were making at least a good $100,000 just from that one um, hot dog cart per year. And so they would sort of split the proceeds. And because, life that they were living in Egypt, $50,000 can go quite far for them. I don't know how much it costs to, run a hot dog stand, but I'm guessing it wasn't much because they were just getting hot dogs and, the cheapest buns from like Costco. This wasn't a business that had a lot of high overhead. And they had a few different spots throughout the city that they were running with other Egyptian friends. And here I was with, my lofty master's degree. And at the time I was working towards a doctorate degree. And, I was making $45,000 a year, which is all right. But in DC, that's not a lot of money. It doesn't go very far. Um, and so I'm explaining all of this is because when I decided that I wanted to start my own freelance writing business, I started to sort of figure out that what people were telling me about, you get the degree and you get this magical freedom from it was really a whole lie. Not that getting a degree is a waste of time. It can lead to something if you want it to lead to something. But for what I was doing, it wasn't leading to what it is that I wanted. And I wanted more time, space, freedom to be creative, to be able to travel as I wanted to. I'm not a big person that likes to go out and, do the 2 weeks of vacation and that's sort of it, sort of a lifestyle. I like to be able to go out in the world and learn something about the culture, maybe learn a little bit about the language, get involved with the local community, that sort of a thing. You can't do that on a 2 week vacation. You just can't. Um, and I started to look into lifestyles of other people, like Europeans get a whole month of vacation, and you can take it all at one time if you want to. Plus, they get tons of days off or sick days. When I lived in Southeast Asia, there were people, families from Thailand, and all Malaysia and all these other countries who would get a whole month off, and they would take their entire family to go and live in Vietnam. I was living in Da Nang in Vietnam at that time, and it was a beach town. And so people from all of these other countries that, everyone tells us is just so poor and desperate, they would come to Da Nang and stay with like grandma and the kids and, all the other kids with the grandkids. And, they would all come and they would get, a hotel, or they would rent a house for a month, and they would just be together. I don't know anybody in America who does that. Not on, not anybody on my socioeconomic level, of course. But I really wanted to be able to travel. I really wanted to be able to engage in some sort of self care. I like to talk about how in the last 5 years that I've been traveling from the United States, um, I've been able to lose over 100 pounds. Would not have been able to do that on my own had I stayed in the United States. Um, and I just want to be able to make as much money as I choose. When I was making that $45,000 working at the college, I had to actually like beg for that. I had to beg for the $45,000 for the role that I was doing. They told me you can make $40,000, and then I had done some research and found out that I was supposed to actually get an extra $5,000 because well, I think they were paying me 42, and I was supposed to get an extra $3,000 because I had a master's degree. And then when I went to the person who makes the hiring decisions, he tried to scare me into not getting that extra 3,000 that I knew that I was owed. And he told me, um, you can either take this job or you can make another decision. The following day he came back. I guess he did the research and he figured out that that was what he was supposed to do, and then they gave me my little extra $3,000. But why is that the cap for me working in an area where you're working more than 40-hour weeks? You're more than qualified for this particular position. It's just ridiculous. And so freelance writing I was really choosing it to be able to give me some sort of freedom, to be able to choose how I wanted to work, and I can choose how much I want to be able to work, how many hours a week I want to be able to work, all those sorts of things. So I had a really strong why. That's really helped me to be able to stay motivated while building my freelance writing business. Number two, I'm able to set my own goals, right? I'm able to set my own goals, particularly as far as money is concerned. I already gave you the story about, my little $45,000 in comparison to what the gentleman from Egypt selling hot dogs on the street were making. They could make as much or as little money as they needed to make and be able to take their money on back to Egypt and let that money work in the way that they needed it to work, living like kings in Egypt. and I'm, struggling check to check, trying to make a life work with your whole master's degree that, how it goes. So I can make my own money goals. When you have money goals and you know that you know how many um, how many clients, potential clients, do I need to speak to in a week in order to be able to get a yes? I'm able to set um, how much it is that I'm able to get paid for each marketing article that I write. So if I write blog posts, an ebook, a case study, a white paper, an article for a magazine, I'm able to dictate how much it is that I get paid for what it is that I work on. Next thing, number three, I'm able to, how do I explain this? I'm able to keep a self care routine for myself. So I make sure I go outside. I've been able to, like, since I've been here in Rwanda, um, there's not a ton of things to do here. So one of the things that they like to do is to be able to go outside and run. Rwanda is known as the land of a thousand hills. The hills feel more like mountains to me, but it's a great way to be able to go outside and get yourself some exercise. Exercise is a great way for you to be able to stay motivated. For a lot of freelance writers, we spend a lot of time indoors, particularly in the beginning, because when you're trying to build a business, you sort of work the 9 to 5 shift in the same way that you're used to in your regular day job. You don't necessarily have to do that, but you don't necessarily get to learn your balance on what your work life should look like until maybe a year in. So for a lot of, and even then, like I know some freelance writers that they're doing too much. You can OD on the time indoors and not speaking to other people when you're a freelance writer. This sort of job, this sort of a career, tends to attract people who are extreme introverts like myself. But I have learned since being a traveler that I actually have to go outside and connect with people. Make sure that I have an appointment with a local friend, or even if I'm just going outside by myself, um, to work at a cafe in the presence of other people. Like tomorrow, someone who knows of me via social media, she's has come into Rwanda to visit, and she asked to be able to meet just for lunch, just to be able to talk about my experience here in Rwanda, and we get to meet each other and we get to learn about what one another is doing in our travels. And it's a great way to be able to meet people. And so that's a great way to be able to stay motivated. You got to take time away from the business that you're doing. You can't stay hunched over the computer all the time every day. You need to be able to take time for yourself. Go out and get a massage. I love to get able to get a massage, particularly because of here. I have learned in the last few years, since I've been super serious about my freelance, or I've been super serious about my self-care routine. I hold a lot of energy here in the upper shoulders and my neck, and that needs to get out somehow. And just going out and exercising is not enough. I need someone to lay hands on it and actually need that energy out. So massages are really great to be able to get on a regular basis. Get, one, start off with one a month if it's expensive for you. I like to get two, sometimes four in a month. Um, Find ways to be able to make sure that you're eating well, go out and see other people in real life. There are ways for writers to be able to work in groups online. So what is it called? Let me see if I can find it really quickly. Called London Writer Salon. They do a few times a week, London Writer Salon. They have a free meeting for people who are writers. They meet a few times a week. You go on this free Zoom channel, and there's at least 100 people on there. And for a whole hour, you get to see people. You don't necessarily talk to them, but we speak to each other in the chat for the first 5 minutes of the hour. Just to be able to say what we're working on and what our goals are. Um, and then you write in quiet for, I think it's 50 minutes that they give you. And then during the last 5 to 10 minutes, we meet up again, and they might pick somebody to talk about what it is that they worked on their particular writing project. And it's just a really nice way to be able to see other people and to know that other people are writing at the same time that you're writing. So you got to be creative in the way that you work, so that you can sort of break up the monotony and continue to stay motivated as a freelance writer. So I think that was everything. I think, yeah, that was everything. How to stay motivated as a freelance writer. That's our question of the day. You can put the answer in the comments. I would really appreciate it. How do you stay motivated to build your freelance writing business? How do you stay motivated? What do you use? Or how do you just stay motivated as a writer in general? That's also a great question. Like, share, and subscribe this particular video if this sort of content speaks to you. If you would like to be able to know how you can create your own location independent freelance writing business, I do one-on-one consultations. You can go to the video description and click on the link. You can also just go to halanablack.com and click on freelance writer coaching. That's all I have for you. Peace. Have a great day.